You are running with the Devils, and we are back. It is a victory show. Oh, the first one in 3 weeks. Oh, it feels so good to be talking about a win. As always, I'm the RyKno, Ryan Knowles. Here with me, Big John Caldwell. And Big John, we get this. It's a SoCal sweep. Not too often the Devils beat both of the teams from Southern California, and they do this past Saturday night at Sun Devil Stadium. You're running with the Devils. As we always say here on the show, you give us 30 minutes, we give you the world of ASU football. And yes, it is a victory show. We're talking the SoCal sweep, beating up on the Trojans. Always a good feeling when you do that. Yeah, this isn't your daddy's Trojan team. They're kind of a lame duck with their interim coach. Can't figure out what to do at quarterback, dealing with all of that. But always take a win over them, 31-16. Devils have 6 wins on the year. They're going bowling, 6-3 on the season, getting back to the winning ways after 2 lackluster performances against Utah and Wazoo. We'll be recapping the big win over the Trojans, and we'll be previewing this weekend's matchup in Seattle against the UW Huskies, another team with their own coaching issues. We'll certainly get into that, but first, we got to talk about this win over SC. Big John, your takeaways, after the win.
Important win, and for a couple of reasons. One, you got to get back on track after your losing ways, and as I keep saying, the defense is our heart and soul. The defense found its mojo, and
as the defense goes, the team goes. As we said,
I really feel that way, and they just keep showing more character through all that adversity. And there was another big reason for this, why this game was important, for recruiting. I mean,
there were a ton of recruits there at the game. Yes.
There were, and you got to win the battle of Southern California. You got to beat them while they're down. UCLA's down, USC is down, and we got to continue to keep going into that market with AP's contacts and relationships to the high school coaching scene, and keep pulling out
that's
top guys.
You're right. That has always been a mark of great ASU teams in the past, recruiting California and getting those kids over here. Great Sun Devil teams have always relied on that pipeline to California. So yeah, I think that was another reason for this, another takeaway from this big win. Definitely, and you mentioned the takeaways. The game kind of started and ended essentially with interceptions, first by Kyle Soley, and then at the end by DeAndre Pierce to seal the game. So that was really nice to see the defense step up against a USC team that they can get a little tricky with some of the stuff that they were doing. The 2 quarterback system. Keontae Ingram was putting up some nice numbers. They were able to keep him relatively in check, and then even without Drake London, that passing game is still very dangerous with some of the athletes that they have on the outside, and ASU was able to keep them under wraps for the most part.
I thought it was interesting that they kept, obviously they were platooning quarterbacks, but they put as much faith into Dart as they did, especially in critical situations when they still had a chance to kind of catch us there late in the game. They played Dart and not Slovis. I think Dart is the quarterback going forward.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, even if Slovis doesn't go into the draft, which I think he should, I think he's ready to go to the next level. I think he is that good. But you're right. I think Dart is definitely the future at the position. But a good job by the ASU defense shutting out the Trojans in the fourth quarter after USC had pulled to within a single point. It was looking a little dicey there for a little bit, but ASU was able to get off the field, and then with that powerful rushing attack, able to put up some nice points and able to put up some nice plays and keep the clock moving. I think that when we show that Herm quote, he had a nice quote about the last 9 or so minutes of the game and how they were able to kind of keep the clock moving and keep the chains going. And as we mentioned, they run wild, almost 300 yards on the ground, but the passing game continues to struggle. And Jaden Daniels, you mentioned it before during our pre-show, he's kind of regressed a little bit. I mean, we're big Jaden Daniels fans on this show. We want to see him do well. We want nothing but the best for him, but he did not look right in this game. He made a couple plays here and there, did have 50 rushing yards, which was nice to see. But
Yeah.
with his arm, only 11 of 20, 145 yards, and those 2 interceptions that really put the Devils in a bad spot. Almost cost him the game, to be honest. That the defense didn't step up the way they did.
Yeah, I think
Can't see that going forward, really.
Woefully over on KTAR likes to say all interceptions are not created equal. And
This is true.
right,
Yes.
right. And but when you're throwing behind guys or you're throwing it into complete no man's land,
Or
you're getting picked.
he airmailed some throws too.
Right. That's what's concerning
Yeah.
to me. And I pointed it out. I think I was texting you, or you kept saying, "Watch his feet."
Oh, I
His,
was so
feet.
frustrated. Yeah, we were both texting.
His feet were not set up correctly on a lot of these throws, folks. We
Yeah.
need a quarterback whisper right now.
Something, because what he's doing right now is not working. Yeah, you mentioned his footwork. That's really
Yep.
setting him up for failure.
Yes.
Has not had some great games. I mean, I thought he played very well in the first half against Utah, but really since the second half of that Utah game, he has not played very well. And gotta hope it's not going to cost them games going forward. So, but the defense was played very, very well. Held the Trojans to just over 300 yards, less than 100 yards on the ground, which is outstanding. Anytime you can usually hold a team under 100 yards rushing, obviously, every game's different, but when USC especially, because they're trying to be a more balanced offense, trying to run the ball, and they did a good job of that. We mentioned the 2 turnovers, really great to see. The guys step up and get after it and be ball hawks.
I was
on the back end.
I was really impressed with the consistency of our linebacker play. They were just.
We mentioned they had not played very well the past couple of games,
and that they needed a bounce back game.
Yes, they need a bounce back game as much as anybody, and the fact they were able to go out there and play as well as they did was huge.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I liked that interception from Soley. Darian Butler had another great game. And he's now a semifinalist for the Butkus Award.
He was he's flying around.
Yeah, he's having a terrific year.
He is. He's playing like a senior, baby.
Yes.
I love it.
And it was just so great to get a win. See these kids, get a win after 2 bad losses. It was really, really great to see. And of course, we got a little bit of a rally monkey, our own rally monkey in the form of that the Fox that was on the field early in that game against the Trojans. It was really great. That was really nice to see. Something really novel. The team the fans can kind of rally around. And we kind of batted some names around. We both like Hayden Fox.
Hayden
Fox.
Minnesota State.
You got the coach. You got the coach, and then you got Hayden Library. So that's who we like.
The legacy of Hayden Fox he's been greatly let down by his poor assistant coaches, I feel.
Luther Van Dam.
Yes, right.
Don't get me started on that show. We're only supposed to have 30 minutes on this, but it's really just a nice win. Anytime you win over the Trojans, we kind of consider this a rivalry. Certainly a team that you circle on the schedule every single year as far as when it is in the season, where you're playing, all these things. And for ASU to come out and USC's not having a great year. They're under an interim coach. This is a down year for USC, plain and simple. So, but ASU still had to go out there and take care of business, and I feel like they did.
Well, after the game, if you heard Tyler Johnson in the locker room saying their number 28 came up to them and said, "You guys came to play. You guys were very physical, and it was obvious. If you come out and play on the line. If you can come out and smash mouth somebody, you're gonna prevail 9 times out of 10 in this game. So and I was really happy to see how they came. Now I want to see him continue this tough guy thing. They got a little edge to him now.
I think that's going to be the key. Playing good defense, running the ball. All of these things you definitely like to see them continue to do going forward. And as we get in here to our, this we always like to feature one Herm quote, about the, when they kind of ran out the clock there with 7 minutes left in the fourth.
Mhm.
That was big for them. So, and then the fact they were able to do all this without some of their best players who were out
Right.
due to COVID contact tracing, it was really nice to see. It was very refreshing to see them kind of face some adversity and still manage to come out on top.
I imagine right now with what's going on with with USC and Cal being postponed and some
Oh yeah,
last night at basketball we had 3 players out for protocol.
four
Was it
players.
4?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's probably trying to figure out how to lock down their protocols, ratchet them down even a little bit further, so you can go out and field a team
Yeah.
and be competitive. So
Yeah, I
it's
mean, yeah, as much as it hurt to not have those players, I mean, you look at what Cal's going through right now. They didn't have like 26 of their players. It's about half their team, and a bunch of
and
their coaches.
three coaches. Yeah,
Yeah, when they lost when they lost to U of A,
right.
10-3, which was a ugly game if you watch it.
It was.
The score was
No,
every indication how bad it was.
If there's any virtue in the Pac-12 network, is when you can watch that game in 60 minutes.
Yes, with commercials. Yes.
Yeah. No, I tape it. I tape it.
Yeah. Oh,
I can blow right through it. I just
Yeah,
go blow right
exactly.
through.
Oh, I fast forward them. I know. But and then obviously the Cal game getting postponed this week too. It could be a lot worse. That's all we're saying is
Right.
and the ASU is expected to get a lot of most of those players, if not all of them, back this week. So as we always do after a win here on Running with the Devils, our players of the game presented by the Valley Athletic Booster Club. To support local athletics, check out the valleyathleticboosterclub.com. And
we got a great, by the way, December 12th, a great family fun Top Golf event. You'll see it on our website here.
Very good.
Probably tomorrow.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a big.
So our players of the game, of course, I got to go with the man at the running back spot. I mean, how much did this team miss him against Wazoo?
Yeah,
it was really great to get him back, and he absolutely shined in this game. Rashad White, 28 carries, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was the Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week and the Rose Bowl Player of the Week as well. Really, well deserved for this young man. He's just been a tremendous player since he set foot on campus. And I mean, so much of the offense has been running through him. And I don't think they kind of realized what they had in him until he was gone last week. I mean, they definitely missed him.
Well, remember it too. The
first 200-yard game since Benjamin against Oregon State in 2018.
There you go.
Which was great to see as well.
And remember, the first touchdown was scored by Trainum, and
yes, that's right.
But then he put the ball on the ground and he didn't play anymore. So that appears to be the new regiment that you fumble, you're not going to play.
When it's been a kind of an issue the way it has with him and some of the other players, I think that's kind of the mentality you have to take, especially when you're as deep at the position as they are. It's unfortunate, but I think that's kind of the way it has to be going forward to try to avoid that kind of snowball effect of the turnovers.
Right.
So hopefully that won't be the case going forward.
Yeah, and obviously White had a great day. Would he have shared some of that with Trainum had he stayed in the game? Probably.
Yeah. I mean, Trainum was off to a great start. He had that nice touchdown run you mentioned.
Yeah.
He was carrying the ball pretty well up until that fumble. So I'd definitely like to see him get back out there this week, because they're gonna need him if the weather is as bad as it's expected to be against Washington.
Yeah, I love this next one here.
Yes, Chase Lucas, my defensive player of the game. I think he might have played his best game as a Sun Devil, in my opinion. 4 tackles, 3 pass deflections. Just played his heart out. Really,
he was a pest, man.
Yes, he was
just a pest.
And he's missed some time this year as well. Mm-hmm. So getting him back out there was great to see. And then not having Jack Jones, you expected Chase Lucas to step up, and lo and behold, he did. I mean, they were real. By the end of the game, they were starting to go away from him. And
you made the comment.
He was really making plays on the ball, which is something he struggled to do against Wazoo.
Yeah, without I thought Tamarcus Davis they were picking on him.
Oh, anybody who was on the opposite side of Chase, they were picking on. They were picking on Jordan Clark was a problem. He would really struggle in that game. Mason Williams gave up a big play.
Big play.
I don't think the secondary kind of stabilized really until they put Tommy Hill, the freshman, out
Yeah.
there. He played very, very well. So, but it was, yeah, once he started going away from Chase, they started moving the ball a little bit better. But Chase shutting down half the field, I think was huge in this game.
Yeah, having him play man like that too, real tight man, was really essential. So I had a real hard time getting it down to 2. So Brian Thompson, I thought, made some. He really caught my eye in this game. 4 receptions, 68 yards, the longest.
In a bad game for the passing game.
Yeah,
yeah, he was a bright spot, definitely.
Well, it seemed like he was probably the only guy, or one of the that Jaden really was hitting on stride.
Yes.
Right in the right spot. Other guys were, Hodges was behind. Guys were Jaden's throwing low. Guys were picking balls up at their ankles. So, but he seemed like he was the most in sync. And Butler, just as we talked about earlier, just had a great game. Really timely plays. He's just
anytime you get double-digit tackles, you had a nice game.
He's just flying around out there. And then once again, the Soli is just having a great all-pack year, I think. But look at those numbers: 4 solos, 5 assists, 9 tackles for loss.
That was that was before he left the game with an injury late in the game. But hopefully he'll be back this week.
Yeah. So
I haven't really heard. I think he was like limited in practice today.
I'll have to make some calls.
But yeah, he did end up leaving that game with injury. But it was really great to see some players step up and play as well as they did. So that's our Players of the Game presented by the Valley Athletic Booster Club. And now on to the Huskies. This is a game ASU really needs to have if they want to keep pace in the Pac-12 South. UW having a down season. Bottom line, they're really struggling. I mean, they started the season with a loss to Montana at home. That was really bad. And then they go on the road next week and lose at Michigan. And they played close in a lot of their games. They're a great defensive team, but their offense has just been anemic this year. And and now they're dealing with their own off the field issues. Head coach Jimmy Lake has been suspended for this week's game following his striking a player in the first quarter against Oregon last week. And this will be ASU's 3rd straight game facing an interim head coach. They faced, Wazoo had fired Nick Rolovich before their game 2 weeks ago. Dante Williams they faced last week after Clay Helton was fired in the second week of the season. And this week, Jimmy Lake suspended, so defensive coordinator Bob Gregory will be the head man this week. And
this was a little different, Ryan, than the other two.
Oh yeah,
in that Lake was really responsible. He's the recruiting coordinator until he got the head coaching job.
He really has no one to blame but himself.
I understand, but what I'm saying is, I think the kids are very, very. There's a lot of kids really attached to him because of
definitely
being not just head coach, but he was the guy that recruited him.
Yeah.
So it's a little different than the other two guys.
It is, and another thing too was just using Wazoo as an example. Rolovich being fired because he wouldn't get the vaccine. That galvanizes the players. That really brought them together, and it really showed on the field. When they played ASU.
Well, they had won 3 in a row, and then they lost to had they won at BYU, it would have been 4 in a row.
Yeah.
So they really got it going after that.
Yeah, and we'll see how UW responds after something like this. And not only that, their offensive coordinator John Donovan was fired after the Oregon game. Wide receiver coach Junior Adams takes over as the new play caller, and analyst Peyton McCollum has been promoted to the quarterbacks coach. So a lot of moving parts on that coaching staff right now. Be interesting to see how the players respond after so much off the field movement and politics going on.
But my question is, at this point in the season, can you appreciably change your offense and put it a new scheme? I think you can put in some wrinkles. I think some wrinkles, right?
Yeah, totally.
But basically, the scheme has to remain about the same.
Yes.
The real thing of interest in watching this game is going to be, can the offense um, it's just so lackluster. I mean, they just don't show any real drive. They don't really, and
They don't. Yeah,
what
I
they
mean, they
don't,
don't
well,
really
they
have an
don't,
identity. They're
well,
not.
they don't go for big strikes.
No.
There's no, they don't go for any big strikes at any point. It's all real. It's like analytics. They're playing by the analytics game, and it's just killing them.
Yeah, they like to dink and dunk in the passing game quite a bit.
Exactly.
I mean, they'll run to keep teams honest. They do have a little bit of, they've have had a little bit of success running the ball, but not a ton. I mean, they don't really have an identity offensively. It's kind of
Right.
weird. They don't. I mean, they got a few playmakers on the outside, but just not. They've really struggled and for that reason, I mean, they're among one of the worst offenses in the conference. Well, the defense has been one of the best, and that's always been the hallmark under Jimmy Lake. Even when he was a defensive coordinator under Chris Peterson, he has always been able to recruit great defensive teams. I mean, you look at some NFL rosters, and they're just littered with Washington players. I mean, the Cardinals have two of them, in Byron Murphy and Budda Baker.
Right.
You got Joe Tryon, who was a high draft pick last year. Vita Vea starts for the Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean, you got Sidney Jones and Kevin King or a couple other corners. And then you got Shaq Thompson, the linebacker with the Panthers, all UW, Jimmy Lake had some kind of hand in recruiting and or coaching.
Yeah.
So those are some great players. The UW has always had great defensive players. They just have struggled to kind of find the same success offensively, even now that Jimmy Lake has taken over as the head coach and currently in his second year. But this will be the first time ASU and UW will match up since 2018, which was Herm's first year. ASU leads all-time series 2017. I was a little bit surprised about that, given the success that Washington had in the 90s. That ASU has still managed to keep the series lead. And there was a stretch there where ASU was beaten up on the Huskies. It seemed like every year they played from 2002 to 2015, they won 8 straight, although UW has won 2 of the last 3 with that memorable upset win over the then number 4 Huskies in 2017, 13-7, which was we were both at that game. That was a crazy game. But moving on to that, we mentioned the offense just really struggling to find an identity. They haven't been very successful this year. 22 points per game, only 332 yards per game. Both of those are among the worst in the Pac-12. They are 11th in the Pac-12 in total offense. Their quarterback, Dylan Morris, has really struggled to kind of find his feet as a redshirt freshman. I mean, he hasn't really turned the ball over at a high clip. 60% completion, 1,920 yards, 11 touchdowns against 9 interceptions. It's kind of been, kind of just middle of the road. Mm-hmm. I think he's not spectacular, but he's not awful. He's also got 2 rushing touchdowns on the year. Right. Just, a good athlete, not really a scrambler necessarily. He's got negative rushing yards on the season, so he doesn't take off and run a ton, but he will get out and run if the situation calls for it. They don't really have any designed runs for him.
Yeah, his immediate backup is Heward.
Yes,
the legendary
Brock Heward.
The legendary.
He has a few passes on the year, but I don't believe we'll see him.
He played early. Again, the criticism, and all their fans will. I went on their boards and looked. It's just that they don't take any big. Everybody likes the long ball, the big strikes, and I don't know if the kid's not capable of it or he's just not connecting. But
the chunk plays are. There is something to be said. Every team should have chunk plays, or long balls in their long ball plays in their offense, just to kind of keep the defense honest, so they're not creeping up too much. But they have not been. They're not really a big strike offense. They're a little bit more methodical. They're not very explosive. So we'll see. Hopefully ASU's defense kind of keep them in check, and they should. As well as ASU's defense has been playing thus far, you'd certainly like to think they can, handle business in this game. And Sean McGrew, their running back, has been probably, I'd say, altogether their best offensive weapon this year. He runs big for only being 5'7", 180 pounds. 107 carries, 8 touchdowns on the year. We should also see Cameron Davis and Kamari Pleasant as well. They've combined for 95 carries, 471 yards, and a touchdown on the year. Sean McGrew also has 8 touchdowns. They'll use him a lot of different ways in the red zone. They'll line him up as kind of a wildcat quarterback and run some different stuff with him. So definitely got to know where he is on the field at all times. And then Morris's go-to receiver of late has been Jalen Mcmillan. He's really played well, 31 receptions, 414 yards, 3 touchdowns on the year. He had a nice game against Oregon. He was catching a lot of balls, seemed to be open quite a bit, good route runner. A lot to like about that young man as a freshman. And then, Terrell Bynum, I didn't really see him against Oregon. I don't think he really didn't really make any plays, but he's had some good put up some good stats thus far this year. 26 receptions, 436 yards, 4 touchdowns. And then I'd say maybe their most talented offensive weapon is the tight end, Cade Otton, who was one of the highest rated tight ends that they've ever had at UW. And you haven't really seen it thus far in his play. I mean, he's only got 24 receptions, 224 yards, and a touchdown on the season. But everybody raves about this kid. They talk about, he's got, all the tools to make it as a pro tight end. So hopefully that, at some point maybe they'll start using him more within this offense.
Don't you think though, Ryan, if they're good film study based team, that they're going to look at what Stanford, Utah, and BYU did to us with the tight ends and try to get in that seam with it?
That is something to consider. But USC, probably saw that too, and they didn't really use their tight ends very much, or ASU kind of shored that up.
We did. I think that's where I was talking about the linebacking play. I saw guys dropping, knocking balls down, a lot real active hands out there. So I think we did definitely work on that.
But that you're absolutely right. That is something that we both mentioned on the show that needed to be shored up, and it definitely was against USC. I'd certainly like to see them take Otton out of this game. I think if as long as they can keep somebody on him, he shouldn't really be a factor.
What's really interesting to me, Ryan, is even though they've got 5 losses, they have been within 10 points in all but 2 games.
Yeah, exactly. The game last week against Oregon, and then the Michigan game, where there are only 2 double-digit losses on the year. You're absolutely right.
And so what you have to really avoid is the defense making a turnover deep in your territory, in ASU's territory, that they can capitalize on.
And that's kind of been the hallmark of this Washington team. I mean, most of the success that they've had offensively has pretty much been keyed by their defense, which has been stellar, or special teams, which has also been played very well this year.
And we'll talk about the defensive stats here next.
This is a stout, very well coached, defense with some very nice pro prospects on in the unit, and they're among the best in the Pac-12 in pass defense. They're not even giving up 20 points a game on average. They're not giving up a ton of yards either. Only 336 on the year. That's second in the Pac-12, second only to ASU, who's given up the fewest this year. And a big reason why has been their man in the middle, Jackson Sermon. He's got 69 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, an interception, and a forced fumble. He had a nice tackle for loss against Oregon that led to a safety last week. So he's played very, very well this year. And it's kind of interesting to see kind of how well they've played when some of their best players are sophomores and freshmen.
Right.
Really. I mean, Carson Bruner is another example. He's a freshman, 39 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, interception, and 2 forced fumbles on the season. That linebacking core is very, very good. They don't miss tackles. They're, they read opposing offenses very well, always where they're supposed to be. This team did struggle a little bit, has struggled a little bit. I watched a couple of their games against the zone read and the run pass option. So, maybe hopefully ASU can take advantage of that. Certainly like to see And then their defensive back, Brendan Bradley Hiles, I believe he's the strong safety. 35 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, an interception, and 4 pass defense on the year. He's another quality player. And then their best pass rusher has been the freshman, Fatui Tuitele, who's got 3 sacks on the year. He's played very, very well. So some of their best players are freshmen and sophomores. So as well as this defense has played, some of their best seasons are still ahead of them.
Well, so they're running a 43, right?
Yeah.
And it tells you a lot about the strength of their defense when your 2 leading tacklers are your linebackers.
Oh yeah.
So that's how it's designed. The guys so it's all about gap control up front, and the big number 99 is your stud who they're sending to get in there and be disruptive. But when you have 2 big linebackers like that making most of your tackles, that's a good defense, folks. It's but that's been their hallmark for many, many years. Is they've always prided themselves in having a good defense. They recruit to that level. But you're right, to have a freshman and a sophomore as your leading tacklers. That's unlike what. That's not.
Tuitele is a freshman as well. He's their best pass rusher. So.
This is non-Washington like. It means that they've gotten off of system with their recruiting, right?
Yeah.
Well, you look at a team like Utah, where all your starters are seniors and all the 2s are juniors, and they don't do anything great, but they have a system, and they don't rebuild. They reload every year, and body type by body type for every position.
Absolutely.
That's what UW had for so long, was that kind of a system. It seems like in this day and age with portal and that's kind of changed the ability of teams to stay together like that and have that kind of culture.
Yeah, the continuity.
It's tough, right? It's a whole new thing. But as I said, this team on defense has created 15 turnovers. They're a turnover machine, and they've scored 41 points directly off of those turnovers. So they can beat you, especially if we get the fumbleitis going again, folks. Just like Wazoo, look out! Look out!
Yeah, it's probably gonna be wet. I mean, it is the Pacific Northwest in November. Yeah. It's probably gonna be raining, misty, whatever. So 45. That's gonna make hanging on to the ball that much harder. So
40 right now, 40 to 50% chance of rain is what they're saying.
Yeah. So ASU's got to be better than that. They've got to be got to hang on to that football, not turn it over, because again, so much of what the offense does, they do because of short fields given to them by the defense, and a lot of times special teams as well.
Bingo.
And you like to talk about special teams, and we'll get into the keys to the game here in just a minute. But special teams has also played a key role this season. Race Porter, Washington's punter, has been very, very good this year. He early in that game against Oregon, he had a couple punts pinned down inside the 5. One of them led to a safety. Another one led to a short field for UW's offense. Mm-hmm. So this is something else. ASU's got to sustain some drives, even if you don't put points on the board. At least get out of the shadow of your own end zone, so you're not giving that offense short fields to work with, because they also have, even when you do punt the ball, their UW's punt returner, the backup running back, Gabari, I think his name is Giles Jackson, number 0, is very, very good in the return game. So they thrive on special teams as well. So definitely have to be at the top of your game in that aspect as well. And hopefully that is something that kind of feeds into our keys to the game, presented by xllending.com. For all your mortgage needs, check out xllending.com. And for me, I mentioned it before, ball security. This is paramount in a game like this, where UW's offense is just awful. They're terrible right now. But when they have success, it's been because the defense has given them short fields, or defense is putting up points, or just something. It's key by the play of the defense. If ASU can even just hang on to the ball and punt it away and make UW have to go on long sustained drives in order to put points on the board, I have every confidence they're going to win this game, because even if it's a low scoring game, because UW feeds on that. They feed on the turnovers. They're a lot like ASU. They're so as their defense goes, so does the rest of the team. So what ASU can't give them the opportunity to work with those short fields, give up points that way,
right?
And do all that, and then feeding into that, keep UW's offense neutered. No short fields.
Woof woof.
The ball out of their hands and run the ball. UW's defense, if they do have a weakness, it's on the ground game. I mean, they're only giving up 140 yards through the air, but they're giving up almost 200 yards on the ground per game, and they tend to over pursue. Their gap discipline isn't always at its best. They struggle against the RPO and the zone read. So ASU's definitely got to run. They've found success on the ground. They've been able to run the ball. That's their identity as an offense. Continue to do that. Keep the clock moving, and put that tire out that defense. Put them on their heels, and then defensively put pressure on Morris and force mistakes. And give your own offense some short fields to work with, because again, the weather is probably not going to be in your favor. I know a lot of the ASU guys were talking about this being great football weather. Well, it's still going to be tough to hang on to the ball, but they're going to need to do that, which has been an issue this year.
What I noticed? I looked at their attendance. And this is how freaky I am about it. About stats.
Yeah,
they're averaging over 60,000 fans.
Oh yeah, they're mad about football there. They always turn out for the team, even when they're not very good.
Yep.
So
it was a driving rainstorm, and they were happy to be there, man.
Oh yeah.
So my point is, don't expect it to be a quiet.
And I'm sure a lot of those were Oregon fans. They always travel really well.
Yeah. Oh, they did, but it was packed.
They're playing their conference rivals, so that's something else. But it is a hostile environment.
Every one of their home games has been at 60,000 plus. So they show up.
So those are my keys to the game.
Yeah, I just felt, getting Jack back, having a really, and we haven't had Chasing Jack on the field, folks.
Well, yeah, and having a healthy Evan Fields has been good too.
Having those three at I call it full strength, should allow us to shut down that passing game and force them into being really one-dimensional. And I think, and at that point, it's game over to me if you can do that. Again, we want to create they're a turnover creating team. We want to create the turnovers.
So are we.
Yeah. Exactly. But I think this game can be over really quick if they just go out and just on defense, just intimidate what it is a weak offensive line. Just go out there and manhandle them, and let them know that you're not gonna get over on us. So I want to see us intimidate their O-line.
It's not that they're weak. I just think they're kind of young. They're young on the offensive line.
Yeah, but you can rally, and you can you listen, folks. A lot of people were really criticizing Herm after the two losses, that he was not an emotional guy. He's passive. Yeah, you hear a lot of that stuff on the boards. If there's a video out there, you need to hear his pregame speech. He was peeling the paint off the walls, man. Those kids came out jacked. So I fully expect that that's the kind of thing going. If they want to get to 9-3, you're going to hear more of that.
And a lot of that was because they were, a lot of those kids are from SoCal. They're playing, kids that they knew and grew up with. So that was part of that. Was extra motivation in the game last week. But you still got to go out there and play well. I think that the fact that they still have a chance at winning the Pac-12 South should be motivation enough. You're still there. You're still mathematically in there. It's going to be tough with Utah. Two of their final three games are against U of A and Colorado. So the chances of ASU winning the South at this point are slim, but they're still there. But they have to win out, and it starts this week. This stretch of final three games, they got a chance. They still have a chance, and that's all you need. Stranger things have happened. So hopefully ASU, that's all the motivation they need to go out there and continue that level of play that they had against USC. So prediction time, as we always do here on Runnin with the Devils. I think it's going to be a bit of a low-scoring game, but I do believe ASU will come out on top. I'm predicting 23-13.
Yeah.
We always seem to have the same margin of score.
It's
Yeah, we don't plan this. We don't tell each other our predictions.
No,
before we send them.
But I know what we're capable of. And last week, I think had Parker Johnson hit his field goal. I think I would have been with a point.
Parker Lewis,
excuse me, from Saguaro. I would have been real close. But I think the elements and the fact that we're gonna be probably not going for big strikes if it's raining hard, or just because Daniels might not be right. I still think you
can tell he's not.
We'll be under 30, but 27 seems about right. And 2 scores and a field goal by Washington seems about right to me. So, and that's at 44 on the over under, by the way, which I think is where they're at right now. It's relatively low scoring.
Yeah, but both of us have ASU coming out with the win. I think as bad as UW's offense has been this year, there's no reason ASU's defense can't take advantage and get after it, force a couple turnovers, and if not score off those turnovers, at least give the offense a short field. Both these teams are very similar with what they do on defense and how they key their offenses. But I still give ASU a slight advantage on both sides of the ball, and I think that'll ultimately carry them in the end.
I love defensive-oriented games. Defense on defense, I love it. I mean, the game up at Michigan State, I love that game. That people go, oh, no, I'm scoring. I don't care. The defense deserves as much credit in the win as anybody.
Oh yeah.
But my point is, I don't think I think our defense has found itself again. And
if they're assuming they're back to full strength, Soley plays, Jack Jones is back out there, which it looks like he will be, and Evan Fields continues to play like he has, and Chase Lucas has another game like he did last week. There's no reason to think this defense can't go out there and have another strong game.
Hats off to our medical guys. I mean, they got Tyler Johnson back out there.
Yep.
You seeing guys that are going up.
DeAndre Pierce looked like he might be done for the year. He was holding his knee there, and then he comes back out and makes the game-clinching interception. So
yeah, he went into the locker room, came back. Well, he walked in nicely, but I think that was a knee-to-knee type of thing. And same thing with Tyler. So, but we really haven't had a big one on the offensive line yet. There was a period there where we had to rotate and put. We moved where we used to backup center, not backup center. We put Donovan. What did we do? There was a point in the game where somebody got hurt, and
I saw Spencer Lavelle.
That's it. Yeah.
Your guy. He didn't play all that well. From what
I thought we used a backup center for a series. Anyway, the long and short of it is, I think we prevail. And we keep moving on. I mean, one game at a time. Do not look ahead.
No. I mean, they do it. Yeah, they do. I mean, they do have a big one against Oregon State next week in Corvallis. That's not going to be an easy game either, as far as the elements go.
And 8:30 starting time time. God. Our body clocks.
I know. And Corvallis in November. The Pac-12 certainly has a sense of humor when it comes to our scheduling. You and I both saw that schedule time and just were both cringed. So
I have it on good authority, folks, that the Pac actually called and apologized to ASU for the 8:30 starting time. That's how bad this was, right?
Yes.
They apologized to us.
Yeah. I don't know why they continue to do that. It is very frustrating.
It's like it's an afterthought. Like, those two. Yeah, we'll put them at 8:30.
God forbid 2 Pac-12 games are on at the same time.
You're looking at 10:30 East Coast starting time. No wonder.
I know. How hard is it to put us on at noon?
Yeah.
Honestly, up there, come on. Oh, all right. So, but that should wrap it up here on Running with the Devils. We always say, forks up, hammer the Huskies, and then keep an eye on that Utah U of A game. Hopefully U of A can actually win. Come on, Rats. Help us out here. Get on a little winning streak and help out your brethren up north. So Clock's up. Say goodnight. Go Devils. Hammer the Huskies. Let's go.